Hi everyone, welcome back to my lab and today's video in which I wanted to share with you the products I picked up from the Pat McGrath Labs and Bridgerton Collaboration collection. I actually also have two products from the Cheek palette from this collection and I will share those with you as well. Before we get into the video, if you're new here, I'm Jody. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. I hope you're going to enjoy this one, find it helpful, and if so, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up while you're watching and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy very low-key makeup content. Now, without any further delay, let's go ahead and get into the video. As always, there will be timestamps, so feel free to jump around to whatever section most interests you. I'm going to start by sharing the items that I picked up. I did pick up the eyeshadow palette. This is called the Mothership Diamond of the First Water eyeshadow palette. It's a 6-pan eyeshadow palette in the smaller size like she has released in her collection in the past. This one is made in Italy and it has an 18-month shelf life. You do receive 6.6 grams of product in this one. Here's the outer packaging of the palette. It's really beautiful. I have to admit, I haven't watched Bridgerton. My best friend had actually recommended it to me, so it's on my list of things to watch. The outer packaging is very beautiful, although I must admit it doesn't reflect the inside of the palette. On the back side, you do have an ingredient list for all of the shades, and all of them have unique formulas. This is the palette itself, and I do love how it is consistent with the outer packaging. So it is a hard cardboard packaging. On the back side, you do have a sticker with the shade names, as well as the shelf life and where the palette was made. This one just opens up very similar to the way that the Star Wars collection opened up, and here are your individual shades. The palette swatches beautifully. In all honesty, I'm not surprised. I'm always super impressed with Pat McGrath products. I'm a really big fan of the brand and her products in general. So as you were looking at the swatches, you probably could tell that you have a variety of finishes here. In my opinion, the two metallic shades, which are those two shades right there, this one is a softer metallic shade. I'm wearing that one as my brow highlight, and this one is a beautiful, very impactful metallic. I absolutely love this shade. You also have a true matte, which is the shade right here. I did find it a little bit more powdery than the typical Pat McGrath mattes that I find in her larger Mothership palettes, but it was still very easy to use. Then you have two more satin type finishes. They behave like mattes, but they do have a slight sheen. And in this palette, which is the first time in a 6-pan palette, you do have one of those astral shades. I also picked up one of the two highlighters from the collection. This is the Skin Fetish Sublime Skin Highlighter. It's very similar to the one that she released for holiday this year or last year. This one is also made in Italy, and you do have an 18-month shelf life with 10.5 grams of product, which is quite a lot. On the back side, you have information about the ingredients. The inner packaging is a little bit different now. You do have a Pat McGrath Labs and Bridgerton collab embossing here. It's not a sticker, like it's actually on the packaging itself, and this is one of the typical Pat McGrath mirrored finishes. On the back side, part of it is also fully on the packaging itself, and then you do have a sticker on the bottom with the information about the product itself. When you open it up, it has a beautiful embossing. I'll be sure to show you close-ups so that you can see it. I have to say it hurt to put my fingers in here, but it looks like it's going to be a little bit more resilient than I originally thought. The highlighter does retail for $60. I picked mine up in the shade Incandescent Gold 002, and there is another shade that is a much more true gold that was also available for purchase. By the way, the eyeshadow palette itself was $65. I was able to grab the two items on a bundle, and I paid $113 minus a 10% discount that she usually does on launches, so you save a little bit if you pick it up in a bundle. And there were a lot of varieties of bundles available, so you could find one that would suit your preferences in terms of the collection, which is something that I really liked. There was a face palette that was released with the collection as well, and I have to admit I was really tempted to pick it up, but it was $52, and of the 3 shades that were included, 2 of the shades I already have in my collection. The first one I have is a single blush, which was in the shade Nymphette. I've shared this on my channel in the past. I really enjoy it, but since I already have the single, I didn't want to purchase doubles. And then the highlighter that's in that palette, Venus Nectar, is in one of the holiday blush trios that she released. So this one is Divine Blush and Glow Trio in the shade Amber Allure. This one is the darker of the two. So this is the same highlighter that is in the Bridgerton collection. So since I had 2 of the 3 products, I just couldn't justify it to myself to purchase an entire new palette for just one blush when I could purchase the blush individually or even a different shade that may appeal to me a little bit more. I will include swatches of these two products as well as the highlighter so that you can at least see what they look like. I'm going to go ahead and show you how I created this eye look using the products so you can kind of hear my first impression thoughts as I use them. But I do have certain thoughts that I think are important with regard to this collection that I will share after the demo. Again, there's timestamps if you want to skip around. So I primed with my Urban Decay primer potion, and I'm going to take a rougher, this is a prototype, it's the P07D, and I'm going to go into the shade Art of the Swoon. And I'm going to go ahead and apply this one on the crease as a first transition. Overall, I was really impressed with how the shades swatched. That's the shade I was using and it applied super nicely, although I have to say that those imprints on the shadows are not going to last very long at all. I'm going to go ahead into the shade Love Match, which is going to be that darker one right there. Both of these are more satin matte shades. I'm just going to go ahead and use the same brush and I'm going to focus this on the outside corner and inside corner of my eye. I know that everybody was talking about how this is another pink palette, and I mean, obviously it is, but these are different pinks. These are more vibrant pinks in my opinion than the ones in like Divine Rose. If you're seeing texture on my eyelid, it's not patchiness. It is just literally texture on my eyelid. I have started back teaching again, and so staring at a computer screen literally all day, and I have a tendency to rub my eyes, and that's kind of how it's manifesting itself. Let's go ahead and demo every shade. So I'm going to go into the shade Plum Regalia, which is that one right there. This one is a true matte shade. The other two that I was working with are more satin finish, but they perform like a normal matte shade would. I'm just going to use this to deepen out the inner and outer corner, and we're going to be doing a halo eye today. I just want to put that blue shade all over the inner part of my lid. This time I did switch my brush and I'm using a rougher. It's a number 14. Now that we have that shade laid down, I'm just going to go back to my original brush and give it a good final blend before we start working with the shimmers. That seemingly neutral shimmer actually swatched so beautifully. I really liked it. It was really metallic, really strong metallic foil type finish. And it was like a taupey, pinky, browny neutral shade. I'm not getting any fallout whatsoever. I always like to do my eyes first because I like to be as messy as I need to be, but I just wanted to comment that in case you're a person that likes to do your complexion first. I'm going to apply the Intensifies Artistry wand, and I'm just applying it in the center. I'm going to do a very typical halo eye. I'm going to use Duchess Divinity, and I'm going to be using a rougher number 21 brush. And as you can see, I'm kind of laying that on the outer part of the halo. That is so pretty. Oh my goodness. I've kind of pushed it over into the center a little bit more than I wanted, but that's okay. Most of the center part is still bare. And now the time has come for Regency Blue. I'm just going to tap that right in the center. How pretty is that? Oh my goodness. Just to make sure we get into every shade, I'm going to use Iconic Ingenue. It's that lighter shade right there. My rougher number 28 brush, and I'm going to highlight my brow with that shade. I'm also going to be using that shade to highlight the inner corner, but I'm going to do that after I do my face makeup when I come back to do the lower lash line. My complexion makeup is all done. I did use my version of Nymphette, which is the single blush. This would be in the palette, I believe the middle shade. And I did apply the brand new highlighter. So the one that I have is in the shade Sublime Skin Highlighter in Incandescent Gold. And I am wearing it. It has Not very much base color, but the reflex are definitely gold. I don't know if you can pick those up. I'm just applying a little bit more, not because I need it, just so that you can see it. It's an interesting texture of the highlighter. It definitely has micro shimmers. They're very, very fine, but if you look closely, you can see them. So I don't think that this is going to be necessarily a highlighter for everyone. Personally, I do like it. It does have a gold shift, even though it looks so light in the pan. When you apply it, it does have a gold shift, which is kind of interesting to me since the eyeshadow palette leans more towards cool tones. But maybe that is something having to do with Bridgerton that I'm just not familiar with. Enough of that, I want to go back into the palette and finish my lower lash line. I'm just going to basically mimic what I did on the upper lash line. I want to start with the darker shade, so I'm going to go into the shade Plum Regalia, and I'm just going to apply that more on the outer corner of my eye. I don't want to apply this on the inner corner because I don't want to close my eyes in. Next, I'll go into the shade Love Match, and I'll probably use this one on the inner corner. I'm using the same brush just because it's the lower lash line and I don't want to use the larger brush. I kind of brushed it off on a towel. Then Art of the Swoon, and I'm just going to bring this down a little bit more. I'm leaving the center kind of bare because I want to apply the shimmer shades there. I'm going to apply the metallic shade first, and then I'm going to layer the astral shade over it. So Duchess Divinity is the metallic shade, and I'm just going to carefully apply this in the center. And I'm picking it up with a tiny pencil brush, and I'm just tapping it in the center. This one does have fallout. It's like falling a little bit. I probably should have used a little bit of glitter glue there, but I think I'm going to leave it just like this. I'll finish the other eye off camera, add some mascara, and be back to show you the finished look. I hope you enjoyed seeing how I created this eye look. I absolutely love the eye look. I think it is really, really beautiful and special. I really love that she included one of those astral shades because in my opinion, they just give it that extra special touch whenever you're doing an eye look like this. Quality-wise, we can go ahead and get that out of the way. It's top-notch quality. It's absolutely beautiful makeup. It's definitely in the luxury price tag, but in my opinion, I do think that the price tag matches the quality that you're receiving along with the packaging and things like that. But there are many buts in my kind of first impression thoughts and overview with this collection. The first one being that this collection launched on December 26th. I just received my item, so I purchased it on launch day right when the website opened for early alert customers, and I just received the collection today. Today is January 11th. So personally, I think an established brand like Pat McGrath should be able to fulfill orders a little bit quickly. I realized that it was during the holiday season, but to be honest, I didn't get a shipping notice until a couple of days ago, and then shortly thereafter, the items arrived. In all fairness, I didn't pay for expedited shipping, so they were probably taking care of orders that did expedite prior to that, but in any case, I just wanted to mention it because I thought that a 2-week lapse for shipping, it's kind of extreme. So I can see why the brand is constantly getting criticism about that. Because of the delay in shipping, I was kind of keeping an eye on their Instagram account to see if they were posting any updates and things like that. And I was noticing that on a lot of their posts, people were asking if there was going to be a restock, and there will be because the collection is sold out right now. But people are also asking if the collection is going to be carried at Sephora. This is a question I saw over and over and over again, and no one from the brand ever responded. When it came to the restock, they were responding to every comment, like, yes, it's coming back, yes, it's coming back. But they didn't answer to anyone that I saw asking about if the collection's going to be available at Sephora. At this point, I would say it probably isn't, because usually when a collection is available at Sephora, after a week or so, you kind of see the products start to pop up, and they haven't. So I'm guessing that maybe because this is a special collaboration with an intellectual property, maybe they won't carry it at Sephora. But I mean, what harm would it do to tell your customers that? You know, you can just let them know. They want to know if they should order from your website or if they should wait and order for Sephora because they want to use their card or their points or whatever the case may be. you know, there's no harm in giving that information to your customers, in my opinion. Let me go ahead and talk about the highlighter first. I think that the highlighter is beautiful, but because of the texture and the color and the effect, I don't think that it's going to be an everyday highlighter. It's definitely something for special effects. I think it looks really pretty. I don't think it's emphasizing a lot of texture, and it does have a slight shimmer to it. It's very, very fine. Like, I wouldn't say you're seeing glitter on your face, but there is definitely a shimmer there. So if you like a lit from within kind of highlight, I don't think that this is going to be the one for you. You probably would enjoy the one that is in the Face Trio a little bit better. The packaging, the embossing, the presentation is A++, however. I think it's beautiful, and because I am somewhat of a collector, I'm really happy to have it in my collection, and I'm going to wear it from time to time, but just be aware that it does definitely shift gold, which I found kind of interesting since the palette itself is a little bit more on the cool tone side. Now let's talk about the palette. This is where I have a lot of thoughts. My first thought was in the amount of product that you're getting. So on this palette, you're receiving 6.6 grams of product. So for comparison, I pulled out a couple of my older palettes. This is one of the first ones that she had. This was the Mothership Subliminal. You're receiving 12 grams of product there. And this is one of the most recent ones. This one is the Rose Decadence palette, and in this one you do also have 12 grams of product. So when these palettes first launched, they were priced at $55 for this one, and then the price slowly crept up, and by this time that this one was released, they were $65, and this palette is $65 as well, but you're getting half as much product. Now, in a sense, I kind of understand that because you do have one of those astral shades. So I can imagine that the materials to produce those shades are going to be more expensive. So I can kind of understand that, but I just wanted to really highlight that you're getting half as much product. And then the other 5 shades, as beautiful as they are not as unique as the astral shades. So it's just something to keep in mind. Another thing that I wanted to mention is, now that you know the amount in terms of grams, you obviously know that you're getting a lot less, but I wanted to compare the size of the shadows themselves. So if you take a look, you can see that the new shades are a lot smaller than the ones in the original Motherships. While I have this one open, I also wanted to mention that the surface of the palette, so this part right here, on this palette it's cardboard. On the other palettes, like if you can see this one, you see how it's reflective? It's more similar to the outer packaging of the highlighter. Right, so it's definitely a little bit of a downgrade in terms of packaging. I don't really mind personally, but again, I'm trying to give you the best idea and kind of my first impression thoughts and overview in case you were thinking about buying the palette, so I wanted to mention that. I wanted to show you for comparison one of these most recent quads. This is the Celestial Odyssey Luxe Quad, and if you compare the sizes from this palette, which those were already smaller than in original quads, you can see that they match the size of this new palette. So again, you're getting a lot less product. One cute little detail that I noticed in the packaging is that for the logo, they actually changed it. So the very last image is actually of a little bumblebee, which are the ones that are etched here of bumblebees or little butterflies. Again, I'm not super familiar with Bridgerton, so I'm not sure. They look like little bees or little butterflies. The Pat McGrath Labs logo has that attached to it, and that's as opposed to this image right here, which I thought was a cute touch for the collaboration. Again, you can feel free to fill me in on the details of the collaboration because I haven't watched the show, so I'm probably missing a lot of those special connections that I would appreciate a little bit more if I had seen the show. I definitely have it on my list of things to watch. Now that I've kind of pointed out all those other details, I did want to share that I still think the palette is really beautiful, and I have to say that even though people are disappointed that this one was still in the pink family, which Pat McGrath Labs, they love their pink over there, this one is a little bit more punchy. It's more intense in my opinion. You can see from my eye look. This is not an eye look that you're going to be getting from the Divine Rose or Divine Rose 2. I think it's a little bit different. And I love that she's including one of her astral shades in a 6-pan palette. So before, she had only included those astral shades in the larger Mothership palettes, which are of course $125. And there was one holiday where she did release, I believe, 3 quads with those shades in them. They were nothing but astral shades actually, but she hasn't done it since, and so I think it's a great opportunity to really get a sampling of the Pat McGrath formula in a palette like this one. I was really impressed by the astral shade, of course, but I expected no different. I really enjoyed the two satiny matte shades. I thought that they applied beautifully and blended beautifully. They had no fallout, and so I really liked both of those shades. You can create a beautiful kind of all matte look with just those. And I think that the way the colors were selected, it's actually a really versatile palette, because you can see you can do something a little bit more neutral if you stay here. You can get something a little bit more pink like I did today, and then definitely something a little bit more special if you include the astral shade. I think the palette is really nice and more versatile than some of her other ones. I think the color selection was made really, really well. Aside from the blue, I really don't see any connection from the interior of the palette to the outside, because you see a lot of blue and purple, and that's not really reflective of the inside. But again, maybe a Bridgerton thing that I'm missing out on. I think that's everything that I wanted to share with you today. I hope that you found this video helpful, and if you did, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. If you have any questions that I didn't touch upon in the video, feel free to drop those in the comment section, and I will do my very best to respond as best as I can. Thanks again for joining me for today's video. If you did enjoy it, don't forget that big thumbs up. It really helps me out, and it also encourages me to continue to create makeup content on my channel if I know that you're enjoying it. Also, I would love it if you subscribe to my channel so that you can join me for a future video. Don't forget to hit the bell so that you can be notified every single time I upload. Thank you again for spending a few minutes of your day with me. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you again very, very soon on my next one. Bye-bye.